but the facility with which objects disappear, the suddenness with which tragedy happens. Again, I mentioned Chekhov because I happen to be reading Chekhov's stories. I mention whatever is current in my mind. I've just read about 10 volumes of Chekhov's stories, and there's this marvelous story about a guy a peasant who is taking his wife to a doctor. She's very ill, and he's on a sleigh, and he's taking her to the doctor through a snowstorm. And he's talking to her. He says, "Don't worry, dear, we'll get there soon." And he starts reminiscing about the kind of life they've had together. He realizes she's been a good woman. He's never really even thought about their life and so on. And that maybe he should have been a little nicer to her now that they're getting old and so on. And he looks back and notices the snowflakes aren't melting on her face. And just when he's developed this great sentimental mood toward her, she's dead. And he says, "Oh my God, how sudden everything happens." And he turns the sleigh around and drives the snowstorm. Finally, he gets despondent and he falls asleep. And then he wakes up in a room, and he says, "Doctor, what happened to my arms and legs?" Arms and legs were amputated. The doctor said, "You fool, you allowed yourself to freeze." I says, "My God, how sudden. How suddenly it all happens." And I think this is a beautiful insight into the suddenness of catastrophe. And the thing that people try to banish most from their minds with their character arc, which is the suddenness with which terror strikes life on the planet. The fact that people are really so fragile, so insecure. There's nothing they can do. That's a beautiful line from a pawnbroker, where he repeats, "I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything." There's nothing he can do. And this idea that there's nothing you can do is not something that people allow themselves to bring to consciousness. They always feel there's something they can do. So they manufacture these huge edifices of control